You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Now, the famous words of hockey player Wayne Gretzky could also apply to candidates who are putting their names forward for the world's top business schools. If you don't take your shot, you'll never be admitted. There are over 4,000 candidates that applied to the full-time MBA at Kellogg last year, and of the 524 in the incoming class, there were 50% women, 40% international, 11% LGBTQ, 10% first generation, 6% veterans. And how many were former professional hockey players? Well, my center court guest, Hampus Gustafsson, was in the Kellogg class of 24. Originally from Sweden, he studied business at Merrimack College in Massachusetts, and then played professional hockey for various teams in the US, Sweden, Denmark. And after graduating from Kellogg last year, he joined the largest provider of medical surgical products, Medline. Hampus, it's great to see you again. That was just a short story of showing everything that you can achieve with perhaps the less traditional profile, but maybe you can add a little more detail in terms of your background and the road to business school.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so originally from Sweden, moved over to the US when I was 18 because in Sweden you can combine hockey and college. So school was always important to me. So that's how I made my move over to the United States. Um, and then played prep school hockey for a year, and then junior hockey for a year, and then was fortunate enough to play hockey in college. Um, and then signed an NHL contract with the Washington Capitals after graduation. Spent 2 years in their organization. Spent most of my time playing for their farm team called Hershey Bears in Hershey, Pennsylvania. Um, yeah, and then moved back to Europe, finishing out my career for 3 years. And during my last year, I figured it was time for me to do something different. Um, in college, I was always I wanted to have a professional hockey career, but I always sort of had in the back of my mind that I wanted to get an MBA. Because obviously during my professional career, it's sort of putting the business career on hold that I was kind of eager and interested to do after as well. So preparing myself for an MBA post-graduation was something that yeah, I really wanted to do. And then taking the time when I had some free time to study for the GMAT, just getting everything in order. And then, yeah, the lofty goals, like you said, you gotta try to aspire to get into the big schools, even though my background isn't a traditional fit for any of the best business school in the US. Then they like different people from different backgrounds, bringing in a different story. So I was able to really put that forward in my application and was very fortunate to be accepted at Kellogg and use those 2 years to just really make the most out of it. And yeah, now I'm at Medline in product management. So a really big pivot.
For sure, for sure. When you think about the analyst to associate and then the next steps, I mean, you were getting body checked through those same years. As you thought about returning to school and next steps of your career, does it change anything? You know, you have this successful sporting career. Was business school always going to be the way to pivot to other career opportunities?
I think there are for sure like multiple ways to do it. I think for me, that was my preferred way. Also because I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do after hockey. If you have that kind of clear path in your head and this is the industry, you can start doing that, taking some courses while you still playing hockey, making sure you're meeting the right people. So when that day comes when you're done with hockey, you can kind of hit the ground running. But I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I just knew I wanted to be in business. I wanted to explore. So for me, an MBA was always my preferred choice. With that said, if I only applied to three schools, was fortunate enough to get in. If I didn't, I would have either kept playing hockey for a little bit and then figured out my next steps, or yeah, just really tried out something. And like you alluded to before, maybe starting at that senior analyst, starting that path. But I was fortunate enough to get into Kellogg, really using the 2 years to explore what do I want to do, what excites me. And then, yeah, coming in now at a little bit at a senior product management level, which I would not have been able to do outside if I didn't go to business school in between. So for me, I could really use it to kind of fast-tracked this part of it, but by no means is this, you need to do this. It just might have taken me a little, or it would have taken me a little longer to get to where I am today, but that's also okay.
Right. Now, you confirmed to me that Lake Michigan never freezes for long enough or for hard enough to be able to play hockey, though there are other lakes not far north from Evanston. What was it about Kellogg that was so attractive to you?
I would say the first thing is I, my wife and I, we've been moving around so much for hockey that when it was time to apply for business school, we sat down and what locations would we want to live in? So just highlighted three cities. So that was kind of the first check for Kellogg. It's in the Chicago area that we really like. Um, so geographically, I mean, beautiful campus. It's a beautiful building. But just setting that aside too, just the reputation of Kellogg, kind of the students that I've talked to that went there. I feel like the culture at Kellogg is very team oriented and something that really spoke to me, just coming from obviously a team sport, just very collaborative, really kind of really wants to embrace your significant other too, to make sure that they get incorporated into activities, they can join clubs. So it was just a really good fit for me and my wife. So yeah, there were a lot of things just outside of the academic aspect. Obviously, it's just one of the top schools in the US too, which doesn't hurt. But there were a lot of things outside of just the academic portion that made Kellogg a really interesting choice for me.
Now, however good Wayne Gretzky was, he would always be the first one to say, it's the team that
Yeah.
wins. Um, we talk about that collaborative, very supportive nature at Kellogg. How does that play out through studies, through perhaps clubs and activities, and even, once you're beyond school, being part of that alumni network?
Yeah. Just to start from the school, I mean, we have a lot of group projects where you just have to get through a problem together. We have some simulation, some experiential classes, some classes where you actually help a business with an issue and you work with them during a semester. So you're just getting put in an environment where you have to work in a team. And I really enjoy that. It was kind of natural to just like work through problems together because that's also how it's going to be in the business world after. So just from that academic standpoint, you get put in a position that you have to work in a team and succeed. And then outside of the academic, there pretty much that was something I was a bit surprised about. But there's a club for pretty much anything at Kellogg, whether it's a professional interest, cultural, geographical background, or just any sort of interest too. There's a club for everything. And there are too many activities in a day that you can't even sign up for everything. There's so much to do. Um, so yeah, there's just kind of very inclusive. They're really trying to make sure everyone can sort of find their own community and feel part of something at Kellogg, which I think is very important. Obviously, for me, before I had always joined a team, so you had kind of like 25 best friends right away. But now coming into just a new program when you don't know anyone and you don't have that initial just team around you. You kind of have to find that yourself. And I think Kellogg made that really easy to just joining different clubs, whatever is your interest, and just meeting like-minded people, but also people from a totally different background, um, just different experiences. And yeah, that was it was it was a really nice experience and just meeting a lot of people that did not share a lot from our background, but some of my best friends now out of the program just had completely different backgrounds from me and some not interested in sports whatsoever, but just connecting over other things was really nice.
If we go back to your first day on campus, and other students may be looking and saying, wow, he's big. But if you were to, with everything that you know about the program, if you could go back and advise your former self and say, hey, so much on option. There's the core curriculum, there are going to be electives that are going to be emerging, all these clubs and activities. I assume that prioritizing becomes very important.
Yes, it does. And that was something going in. I thought, I mean, it's always like, okay, get the best grades at school. It's so focused on academic, and that just kind of got my first class, the professor, the first thing he says is, "Welcome to Kellogg, great job. Just remember now that grades don't matter in the grand scheme of things. And if you get all A's here, you have not spent your time doing the right things." So that was something that I'm glad that was sort of put into perspective right away. I mean, we're all high achievers. We're all going to try our best in school anyway, but it kind of just put things into perspective that yeah, really make sure to join clubs, make sure to do these activities, focus on recruiting, join kind of these clubs we have to prepare you for the industry we want to enter and really learning, go through like the case prep, the case interview prep, um, having someone check your resume, just making sure that everything around too, like we're all there obviously to learn, soak up as much as possible, but ultimately is to build your network and land that job after. So it was something that just stepping in, I thought it was going to be just almost like laser focus on class and the academic part, and it's just the whole experience is something that you need to do and kind of yeah, like you said, prioritize. Sometimes you have to do things you didn't think you were going to do and join. Um, Maybe if you get invited to a recruiting event and you have a test the next day, like, yeah, maybe you don't get that A on the test, but it's important to go to that recruiting event and just make sure that wherever you spend your time is to make sure you maximize the time at Kellogg because it goes by quick. And just joining as much as you can in the beginning and then be more selective as time goes by of where you spend your time and you can be more intentional. But maybe in the beginning, if I were to go back, I was sort of just trying to find my fit right away and try to be intentional with that. But I think in the beginning, just sign up for everything because you might not know what you like. Just have an open mind. So I would say that's something that if I were to go back, I would probably sign up for even more things in the beginning because maybe I would have been exposed to things that I didn't think I liked, but I actually really liked that I wouldn't have known. So yeah, just the whole experience was really great.
You talk about resumes, networking events, and in the application itself, of course, Kellogg wants you to think about perhaps a post MBA career vision. In reality, um, you might have had a few ideas, but how does it work with the career management team and helping to shape, explore new opportunities? You know, now you've now got this great role with Medline in a product manager role, but how does that actually work as you go through the program?
Yeah, so coming in, you have some time to explore, but certain industries, they start recruiting almost your first month at campus. And I thought I would have a little bit more time to obviously coming in, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I thought I would have a little bit more time to explore. So I would say certain industries just check maybe before you get to Kellogg if you don't really know what you want to do when the recruiting cycle starts and when you kind of have to jump in and then maybe do some of that reflecting before joining just so you have a little bit more of a clear idea before your first day at campus. Um, but then when you've sort of decided, okay, maybe like you're interested in this and in that, then, but right away you get a career coach signed up to you that you can talk through, like, what are your interests? What do you want to explore? And then they will also kind of help you, kind of telling you the timeline for each industry. So you know, kind of, okay, then I got to start focus here or focus there. Some recruiting starts, like I said, super early. Some of them are structured, like consulting, investment banking. And then some like tech starts a little later, for example. And then obviously the entrepreneurial, it's more like just in time recruiting. So just kind of understanding the recruiting cycles of what you're interested in. And then, like I said, too, we have clubs you can sign up for. Um, that's just like the professional clubs. And then there you learn everything about the industry. They bring in guest speakers that are successful in that industry to speak to what made them successful, what they focused on, but also then you have these kind of yeah, the resume, they can look at it, just making sure it's tailored for that industry, even for that specific job you're applying to. Um, and also, you just have kind of a smaller group assigned to you with like-minded people applying for the same. Sometimes it's even the same position, but you kind of create that environment where you're still rooting for each other. You want it to be going well. You're exchanging ideas. You're working on kind of interview prep, like a mock interview. So they're just, you can do that with a career center too. So that's something, just really utilize that. It was there for us to use. And in the beginning, I'm not used to asking for help, so I try to do some stuff on my own, but then it's right there. So just ask. There's always someone that wants to help you. Put yourself in the best position, whether it's one of your peers, or one of the teachers or the career center. We also have through the Vast Network, you can sign up for a mentor that's in the industry that you want to get into, a former or a Kellogg alum that they can just speak to what they did, their journey, and then you also have an advocate if it's even for the company you want to apply to. So there, there are just a lot of people, like even, of course, like around the world that went to Kellogg, and I think the culture and sort of even if they went to Kellogg a long time ago, if you reach out to them, especially when you still have the Kellogg email address, you will always get a response. Everyone always wants to help you. It's sort of that's the culture I like, and it's still after you graduate, you go out. If you hear from anyone that went to Kellogg, you will definitely pick up the phone or answer that email.
Yeah, I always remember, 2009, 2010 financial crisis, and it was extraordinary how that Kellogg network and alumni, proactively came back to the school and said, "Hey, it's tough out there. How can I help?" It speaks volumes. Now, forgive me for one other Gretzky quote, but what else do I get to talk to an ice hockey MBA? He's got so many great quotes. He said, "I skate to where the puck is going to be, and not where it has been." Is there a sense that, through the MBA, of course, you've got this great position now at Medline, but you're already sort of anticipating, next steps, the first job as you come out of school, but you're building skills, thinking that's going to serve you, for 5 years, 10 years, wherever that puck is going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's something that at any top business school or any business school in general, they're going to just teach you a way to approach problems and how to break something down that's more manageable and how you can make an impact. So, yeah, right away, maybe it's at different levels on a day-to-day basis. Maybe I don't need to use what I learned, but it's always there at the back of my mind and looking at something holistically. So of course, I'm just 6 months into my business career. But I'm trying to build the toolkits that, of course, I would love to have a long, successful career at Medline, but I'm also trying to, whatever I learn, that it's widely applicable because you never know what happens, where your life takes you. So just trying to make an impact where you are. I think that should be the number one focus because if you're thinking too far ahead, you kind of forget to make an impact where you are. So always make sure if you do as good as you can in the moment. I think that's kind of the mindset I had for hockey too. You can never worry about next season. You have to focus about kind of this season and doing as well as possible because if you don't do it well now, you won't have that next season and you won't have those opportunities. But I just think Kellogg kind of it really laid the foundation to, if I perform well now, to kind of have that trajectory where I wouldn't have had without the Kellogg MBA.
Yeah.
But I have the mindset now when I'm coming into Medline that I haven't proven anything. I'm just having the mindset, Kellogg, of course, it helped me to get in this position, but just having Kellogg on my resume won't help me at Medline. So now it's sort of how do I utilize that? How do I make an impact? Um, how can I drive our sales revenue, whatever it is that I have to do? Just how can I think about it critically? What can I do that maybe is not normal, something we haven't done before? Kind of thinking a little bit outside of the box. Yeah, and just leveraging, coming out with a fresh perspective. So that's sort of how I'm viewing it. So obviously, yeah, think about setting yourself up for the future, but worry about the now first because that's what ultimately is going to make you successful.
Yeah. With everything that you imagined about business school, were there any unexpected surprises? Perhaps even something that you learned about yourself, and it was only afterwards, like, "Hey, that's really cool." Something that came out of the blue.
Me coming in, it was almost like I'm here despite playing hockey, despite all this. Like I had to overcome this. I almost felt like apologetic when I was in a group with like former, like just very prestigious, like consultants or they worked at like these big tech firms or done some super impressive things. And then here I am, the hockey player. Um, so in the beginning, it was something I tried to overcome, but I think it took a little bit of time. But then I'm here not despite being a hockey player, but I'm also here because of that, because of my background, because of the experiences I had. And it's so hard to get into these schools that no one can really sneak in. Like you're there for a reason. And then when I started to realize that myself, I feel like I dared to speak up a little bit more and share my viewpoints and um, yeah, just feeling like I actually belong here. Because in the beginning, it's that, of course, like that imposter syndrome, but kind of just feeling, no, I'm here for a reason. I belong. I'm obviously I have a lot to learn, but yeah, that helped me sort of grow and realize that yeah, I'm up against all this like really talented pool, but I have something that they don't have and try to leverage that. Like I'm really leaning into kind of the leadership, the team aspects that I had to go through, the adaptability, the adversity I had to get through, and just really leverage that. So that was something I sort of learned about myself is I always try to be apologetic about those things and downplay it, but no, that's something I should be proud about, not something I should apologize for.
Yeah, I've always loved your story. And, whether you're out on the ice or you're in the boardroom, your ability to read a situation, the determination, the dedication that all of that has required. And yeah, absolutely. They were being very thoughtful when they offered you a place. So with our viewers that themselves are now thinking about their next steps, business school, Kellogg as a choice, any final words of advice that you would have as
Yeah,
think about next?
yeah. I would say you just have to figure out your why. It's why do I want to get an MBA? Why do I need to get an MBA? Why Kellogg? Why now? Because if you can't answer those questions, I think even if it's just, oh, I want to dig a little bit deeper, because that's going to drive your whole application, your whole story, and also kind of the purpose when you get to Kellogg. And then if it changes when you're there, that's totally fine. But you have to be able to kind of really think about, okay, I need this to get the next level where I'm at, or I want to pivot, and does it even make sense in the new industry I want to get into? Can an MBA set me up for that? And then also, when you look at the school that you want to go to, obviously Kellogg, I speak very highly of Kellogg with the culture. And then certain schools are better with recruiting into different industries. Or if you're laser focused and a pivot into something, then there are schools that will be better for that. They just have kind of the network with those schools and their alumni. They just place a lot more people in those industries. So I think just looking at it like that, start with just asking yourself why and just dig deeper and deeper and deeper. And when you feel like you have enough answers, then I think that's when you know it's the time to apply and also knowing which schools you want to apply to.
Well, part of that whole self-reflection and coming up with those answers starts with discussions like this, and just to be able to share your perspectives and everything that you've achieved. I'm delighted to see that it's been such a great experience at Kellogg and now exciting new chapter with Medline. So, Albus, great to catch up, and thank you very much for joining us at Centre Court.
Yeah, thank you very much.